Hi, my name is Zubin, and you're watching our series called Leadership in HR. Today we have with us Chandralakshmi. She has been into the HR profession for quite a long time, and she's been both into consulting as well as worked for specific organizations. She works for Heineken and she takes care of rewards and HR services. However, to know more about her, let us welcome Chandralakshmi here. Chandra, welcome to our show.
Thank you, Zubin.
So, Chandra, why don't you tell us a little bit more about what you do right now and what you've been doing in your career?
Sure. So today, currently, I play the rewards head role and HR services for Heineken Malaysia, and I've been with the organization for over a year. I was formerly from Western Digital and prior to that HSBC, where I was overseeing the Asia region, rewards and services in the Asia region for both organizations. Prior to that, way back then, I started off my career in the consulting space. So started off with then Watson Wyatt, and then moved on to Mercer, and ended my consulting career with Towers Parent. Now, two of those have now merged, and Towers Parent is today known as Towers Watson's.
Okay.
So I've always been in the space of HR, although my educational background was in economics.
Wow.
Yeah. So I have a degree in economics and a master's in MBA. I ventured into the space of HR because I found it exciting, and ever since then I've not turned back.
So, tell us something about what you do when you're not working. I mean, we got to know about your career, about what you've been doing, but what about not working? Do you have any hobbies? Do you do something else?
I'm a mom of 3 kids, and as I think most moms would agree, that's already a full-time job.
Yeah.
My youngest is 3, and then my eldest will be 9, and I've got a son in between who is 7.
Okay.
So a lot of time out of work is primarily with them and my husband, actually, and building a family as well as working. So a lot of our Sundays and Saturdays are filled with family time, activities, classes, and whatever that keeps them out of mischief.
Okay, all right. So, Chandra, let us try to understand a little bit about positioning the HR team. So, if I ask you, in your experience, because you've been both into consulting as well as in specific roles in organizations, so why do you think positioning the HR team is important?
I think in today's world, where HR as a function is trying to exert itself more and more in a more dominant way, the way in which HR used to be structured and the way in which HR needs to be structured to meet the demands of tomorrow has to change. So, and it's not a new journey, if I was to say that. It's been a journey that has been started many years ago in different organizations who are in different life cycles of within the organization itself, are embarking in this journey differently. So for HR to go out to be where it wants to be in the future, where it exerts itself, where it's seen as a key business partner in driving the organization to its end goal, the way in which it supports the organization to achieve that needs to be different. Now, in today's world, where many organizations, the more matured ones, are naturally trying to be better business partners, better in understanding the business needs, and better in providing solutions, the way in which the foundation is laid and structured needs to ensure that it has the right ingredients to facilitate the end process. Now, where the ingredients are not correct, the outcome might still be there, but would be challenged. And what I actually mean by that is now, so leaders are aware, as organizations are already embarking in this journey to viewing HR more and more as a key business leader or business function, so to say. they would want HR as a function to provide more thought-provoking suggestions, provide more thought-provoking insights, which these functions and the non-HR functions in the organization may not be focusing on. In order for HR to do that, it has to have the right bench strength, which means the right individuals within its function playing the right roles. The processes that it has to facilitate these ends.
Mm-hmm.
And if the processes are not reflective of technology and what's available in the market and in the environment today, then the solution that results from that is not going to be prime.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on from on that, going a little further, HR as a function, what I said used to be pretty reactive, and it no longer is seen, or rather that's the hope and the wish for it to be seen to be more proactive.
Mm-hmm.
So traditional manners in how structures the HR team in itself is structured needs to be reviewed and revisited.
So if I talk about Malaysia, for example, people who work in these organizations, it could be any organization in Malaysia.
Mm-hmm.
What is the general view or perspective about HR? What do they expect out of the HR team in general?
Two perceptions: HR's perception as well as the business's perception.
Mm-hmm.
I think in Malaysia, more and more HR functions in different organizations are intending to be seen more as a proactive function.
Okay.
Right? And unfortunately, my views are that the business functions may not really see or have the same notion.
It's always been seen as a support function, isn't it? Human resources.
A support function, but not an administrative function.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think of certain key things could still be there. If you think of what's my leave balance, let's
Mm-hmm.
ask HR. How do I apply for medical benefits?
Mm-hmm.
Let's ask HR. How do I get myself enrolled for a particular training program? Let's ask HR. What's the retention rate? Let's ask HR. So it's very administrative. And today with technology, all of this can be replaced, and it's already being replaced. So you've got
Right.
many technological solutions where this entire administrative function that was once played by actual human beings in the HR organization
Mm-hmm.
can now very easily be replaced, and the HR personnels are or should be now looking at how they can look at the analytics developed out of these functions, these softwares and such, and provide more insightful, meaningful, thought-provoking solutions to the business.
Right.
So a manager, to just add a further,
Yeah.
a manager can now find out his leave balance on his own if he has the right tools in place.
Mm-hmm.
What's the attrition? The CEO can go in and find out. So where HR as a function can now move out from the administrative role that it used to be playing into a more supportive role, is now culling this data, looking at these data, and then providing insights that may not have been visible to the function.
Okay, so there are so many different aspects. When you said about data, the first thing that came to my mind was analytics.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that's already there. But that's again another subject.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to come to a different question. The
Mm-hmm.
question is about your experience in handling these kind of situations, or let me put it this way. What has been your experience in positioning the HR team or certain functions of the HR team?
Mm-hmm.
So have you had that kind of an experience? If you could share something with us.
Sure. So I will share more of my experience in the corporate world.
Mm-hmm.
After leaving the consulting world. So I'll start off to give you an example of what it used to be in consulting. where we used to come in as the a consultant, the knowledgeable consultant, to guide, to help organizations channel their thoughts in the direction in which they wanted to achieve a goal. They did not know how, and therefore they sought the expertise from consultants to help them in that journey. They knew where they wanted to go. They did not know how to get there. And in the consulting space, we've got different focus areas, and the right folks will go in with the right knowledge and help these organizations in that journey. Now, in the corporate world, you have a mixture of individuals in a function, some of which may not have the technical skill sets, some of which who may. And by far and large, a lot of the folks in the corporate functions, may have grown up rank and file, and may have acquired their skills through experience. And as a result, what I see has been happening more and more is, and this is changing, I see a changing trend. A lot of the support that's provided is pretty much administrative.
Yes.
Right? And as a result, while the view and the hopes and the dreams is to be more proactive, more partnering better with the business, but how to do that may not be ingrained in the function itself. So the individuals in the functions may not be guided on how they can be better partners too. So partnering to them would be support. You ask me this, I give you this. You ask me this, I give you this. What HR needs to be in order to partner better with the business is to be the internal consultant.
Yes.
That knowledgeable internal consultant to the organization that can steer the organization in the direction that it wants to go.
And that's very important to also change the perception of employees from seeing HR as an administrative function to really supporting. I mean, when you're talking about consulting, that means HR really has a role to play.
Yes.
Also strategically, mentoring and guiding, there's so many different aspects that come in when you get into the consulting mode and not viewed as just an administrative function.
And I guess it takes two to tango here.
Yeah.
So while the business, if the function intends to have the business change its view and perception, it needs to act differently.
Yes.
So when someone asks you, and I was talking about linking back my earlier response, and if assuming you've got the right frame or right software or right management system already in place, where you are able to manage your leave, your payroll, your reimbursements, your benefits already, where that functional administration is replaced by a system.
Yeah.
When someone were to then ideally should be able to be self-sufficient and find out his leave balance, but for historical reasons calls up HR and asks. What the HR personnel should be doing, instead of giving him purely just a response to his answer of yes, you've got X number of days utilized and this many days left, is give him more insightful analogy, assuming, so for example, if he's a manager of a team and say, this is how your team has utilized its leave. Did you know that you've got these individuals who coincidentally have been on leave every this day or every this day, who've been ill every this day and every this day? You may have an issue. This is something that you may want to look into. I'm not suggesting, I'm just merely sharing with you what the data sees. Now, these managers will not be sitting and doing that. Right? HR, if it's able to come up then and provide such responses, will then be positioned very differently, as opposed to being positioned very administratively, where if I want to find out how do I apply for a training program, what do I need to do, what form do I need to fill out, which is typically where someone may go into HR. What's the retention rate, how much attrition rate I have in my organization. If HR can then tell you, do you know the attrition rate in this year was this, in this year was this, in this year was this, I see a trend, but when the economy was this, we saw this. If HR can come up and now provide that type of solutions, responses, without even being asked, that's the value that HR brings.
So Chandra, Tell us something about your experience or your knowledge about how HR needs to be positioned. But also, let's look at the perspective of different countries and different regions. So, you've worked with people from different geographies as well.
Yes.
So, what has been your experience?
So every country is different, primarily due to the culture that it's in the country. And the issue that you highlight, the view and the perception of HR as a function is pretty much the same. So I've in my previous organizations experiences, I've been focused a lot in countries in Asia, and even out of Asia, I will see countries in Europe and Middle East in my previous organizations, and the viewpoint is still the same. Where HR is, in my view, internationally, is not very different. The journey in which they are to get off this thing could be different, but the general perception of HR still remains. Now, culture has a lot to play with that. So in certain countries where the culture is as such that if the CEO says, you don't question, you just follow. The ability to question and challenge is a lot harder. For HR as a function to break away from that mindset is a lot more challenging. Will be a lot more challenging, because for HR to then buy its seat in the table, it could already be in the table, but it could be in the table to receive orders to go back and provide a response to. In countries where the culture allows and encourages a little bit more openness, this process will be a little easier. But at its core, it's still the individuals. The individuals in the teams in HR need to be no longer seeing themselves as personal administrators, as an administrative function. They need to know how to use the tools that's available today, review processes and change processes that they have, and not continue to adopt processes of yesterday, using yesterday's solutions and then providing a response. Because you're just wasting an opportunity. You've got AI today, you've got tools that help you. So culture plays a lot of difference. So you may have a leader from a different country in a more so-called advanced country, a more culturally accepting country. But the leader comes from a country which could be not as accepting, where if I say, you follow.
Yeah.
So the culture that leader drives, and if he's your CEO or she's your CEO, it's going to be that much more challenging for you to then get away from the mindset of being seen as an administrative function. But I think HR should stop being complacent and living in the view that, yes, I've always been seen this way, I've always been seen this way, and therefore this is how I will be. Individuals in HR need to realize that change begins with us.
Yes.
Right? If we as ourselves understand and are able to understand how we can support the business differently. If you go and give someone a piece of information that they would never even have thought of asking, because you've done your homework, you've done your groundwork, and you've then now come up with this scenario or this situation or this simulation that was, and you were surprised by it, and it was because of the analytics that you've done. You take that and have an engaging discussion with your CEO. Now, I don't believe any CEO, regardless of the cultural background that they come from, is going to say, no, I did not ask you to do this. I don't intend it. So when we as HR professionals are able to come and provide this type of information, which the business leaders may not even know it exists, because they're not going to be focusing their time in interpreting information as such.
Yeah.
So as HR professionals change your mindset and provide better information, that's where I see the function changing.
Okay, great. From your experience of being able to position HR, or as I said, certain aspects of HR, I would like you to give a few suggestions to our viewers on how do you think HR professionals can prepare themselves. So there are a lot of youngsters, people who are in middle management. They would like to learn or know certain points or certain suggestions from you on how HR can be positioned better.
So for HR to be positioned better, people are at the heart of the company, and the function that manages people is typically HR. And in any organization, in any function, in order for it to go forward, you need to ensure your internal resources, which is your HR resources, is well managed, well kept, well taken care of in a sense. So for HR individuals in the HR functions, we need to start thinking of ourselves not only as a provider of responses pertaining to policies and pertaining to utilization or helping provide administrative support. We need to position ourselves in the shoes of our business leaders, of our business functions. Often the times, folks in HR in particular functions who've been in the role long enough, where the work becomes fairly routine, where a response is fairly routine, when they give a response back to a question that's asked, it's very, this is how you do it.
Right.
What we have to do is put ourselves in the shoes of the person asking the question and ask ourselves, why is this person asking this question? What could he gain by asking this question, and what can I do to ensure that what he receives is a lot deeper? When we are able to understand the reasons behind why a particular question is being asked and then provide a solution, the solution in itself becomes that much richer.
Yes.
So to add to this, if someone comes and asks you, and this is quite common in a function, how many days leave do I have? And again, if you already have a self-sufficient way of an employee finding that out, you may then, instead of getting annoyed with the person asking you the question, turn around and say, why is he asking me this question? There's one, he may not know that he has a system. Two, he may not know how to use the system. Or three, out of habit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if we can then, every time this question is asked, come up with, say, providing this information periodically before even it's being asked, and then doing analytics to support that. Again, the HR function then becomes more of a leader to the organization who is not focused in looking into these nitty-gritties, which could be the core reasons behind sentiments, behind engagement of the entire organization.
So thank you so much, Chandra, for sharing your views. I think this has been an excellent conversation.
Yeah.
So we were listening to Chandralakshmi, and I hope you've gained a lot from this conversation about positioning the HR team. If you've liked the video, please share it with your peers, share it with people who you think can learn from it. Until the next time, goodbye.